It honestly disrupts our life sometimes and makes us seem like that annoying kid or that really quirky individual when really it's just a part of our life that we can't help. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, Ticking Together. As always, the goal of this channel is to provide education about and to raise awareness as to what it's like living with Tourette Syndrome. In today's video, I wanted to talk about something more neurodivergent related than Tourette Syndrome related, but honestly they kind of go hand in hand because Tourette Syndrome makes me neurodivergent, and I wanted to talk about hyperfixations in this video because I feel like there's not a lot out there, and I want to provide some awareness and education on not only my experiences, but hopefully some experiences that you guys might resonate with too. Before we get started, my name is Carly, I am 23, and I was diagnosed with Tourette Syndrome when I was 12. And it's been a fairly long journey of living with tics and figuring out how to navigate the world living with Tourette Syndrome. And so for those of you that don't know what Tourette Syndrome is, it is a neurological... I got rice. Hi. It's a neurological disorder, which means it affects my brain and it causes me to make involuntary movements and sounds known as tics. So these weird things I'm doing with my body and the sounds I'm saying that are not actual, meaningful, coherent thoughts, those are tics. I just want to preface this video by saying that I am not a healthcare professional. I'm not a mental health person that can diagnose people. I'm just someone who lives with Tourette Syndrome and other disorders as well that affect my brain. And so this video is going to talk to you guys about things that I've read and done research into, but it's not really what you should be taking as sound advice because I'm just a person, not a doctor. So let's get into the hyperfixation video. I guess we should start off with I got rice. Call me Mr. Cumming. Hi. I guess we should start off with the basics. So what is a hyperfixation? In the world of neurodiversity, a hyperfixation is being completely immersed in a topic or being really super passionate about something. And it's not just being really invested in a TV show or hey, I'm gonna binge this show for a week. It's not that. It's more than that. It becomes a literal obsession and it's all you can focus on for sometimes weeks, months, or even years at a time, depending on the thing you're fixating on. It's literally just becoming completely immersed in one realm or subject or topic. So hyperfixation is typically Hyperfixation is typically seen in individuals with ADHD or autism spectrum disorder, but other mental illnesses or neurological disorders can also experience the idea of hyperfixation. So as I said, I got rice. Hi, 20. So as I said, I have Tourette Syndrome, which falls into the category of being neurodivergent, as well as I have a lot of other comorbidities along with my diagnosis of Tourette's, such as OCD, anxiety, depression, PTSD, impulse controls. The list goes on. And so me being neurodivergent, I'm able to say, oh, I'm hyperfixating on this. Just a disclaimer, some people on the neurodivergent spectrum get a little bit iffy when people who are neurotypical say, oh, I'm hyperfixating, when they're really just super excited about something. Like I said, it's very different for people who are neurodivergent because it honestly disrupts our life sometimes and makes us seem like that annoying kid or that really quirky individual when really it's just a part of our life that we can't help. So according to some mental health professionals, hyperfixations are the way to soothe many symptoms associated with disorders such as ADHD and autism, which gives us the gratification, which gives us the gratification that we're often lacking due to our diagnoses. We keep doing this or keep being really excited about a topic or doing research on it because it simply just feels good. Another important word to note for this little hyperfixation video is special interest. So a special interest kind of falls along the hyperfixation spectrum, which means that a special interest is a very intense, streamlined interest on a very specific and narrow subject matter. And this special interest can often last weeks, months, years, lifetimes. Sometimes they never go away. So this goes alongside the idea of hyperfixation, but it's a little bit different as the special interest is something you find immense comfort in, but you don't necessarily have to be hyper-focused on it to get the gratification from it. So in my experience with hyperfixation, I have had a few things that have just been what? Looking back now, I'm like, why weren't people concerned for me? Like, this is not normal behavior. I've talked about this in a previous video, but when I was younger, around 5 to 9 maybe, I was literally obsessed with the movie Beethoven. The movie about the Saint Bernard who was stolen from a pet store as a puppy, found a family, the wife and kids were trying to convince the dad to keep the dog, and in the end it's just a very happy movie. Such a feel-good movie. And I remember I was just enthralled. I was enamored by this. I was so into it. This movie was all I would watch at the time. I wouldn't watch any other movie. If it was family movie night, it was the only movie I would pick. It was the only movie I really ever felt like I needed to watch. I wanted to learn everything about the movie. I wanted to memorize the lines. I wanted to get a Saint Bernard. I wanted to name my Saint Bernard Beethoven. I wanted to learn everything about dogs and Saint Bernards, and just the whole topic of Beethoven was infatuating. So I think that this was my first introduction to the world of special interest and hyperfixation. I learned very quickly and very young that I could become completely immersed in a topic and that it could take up a lot of my time. I had the VHS tapes of Beethoven 1 and Beethoven 2, and I would watch them on repeat, sometimes back to back to back. I would just rewind, play, over and over again. All day, Beethoven. So hyperfixation is basically an extreme obsession around a topic with no real reasoning behind it, and it can often really impact your life negatively. This Beethoven obsession didn't really affect me too bad in the way that I was so young, and people assumed that I was just that weird kid that was obsessed with a movie and I could know all the lines, and I was just that. It's more normal in children, I guess, to be obsessed with a movie. They just thought I was that annoying kid who liked Beethoven. I think hyperfixation became kind of a problem for me when I was around 12 or 11. I don't remember the exact year, but I was introduced. Hi, 20. The communists are coming. I got rice. I was introduced to Adam Lambert on American Idol, and oh my gosh, this hyperfixation was ridiculous. I literally loved everything about this man. I was really completely enamored by him. And it wasn't just a normal weird fandom thing. It was way more than that. I could tell you literally anything that was public knowledge about him. I could tell you his height, his birthday, his parents' names, his brothers' names. I could tell you all of his tattoos. I could tell you his American Idol audition number. 1877. Just information that I really didn't need to know. I wanted to know everything. And it was all I would talk about. I was in grade 6 at the time, and all my friends and teachers were really genuinely annoyed by this. I would tell people facts about him when they really didn't care, and I would gush over his new songs or his audition video or just things that, I knew everything. My room was covered with pictures of him that I had printed off Google or taken out of magazines, and I even went as far as making myself a little Adam to-go book where I had like pages of facts and like little pictures of him that I could show people and explain like, this is the best guy ever. Like, I bought cringy merch that was not legit. I had a mouse pad of his face. I had bags with his face on it. I just had everything. Adam Lambert. I was so fixated on everything about him, and I genuinely think that people thought I was crazy. To this day, I still love his music and I'm a fan, but it's not nearly to the extent of what it was like for a few years of my life when I was younger. People just assumed that I was the weird or quirky kid because I really liked Adam Lambert, but it was becoming to the point where I was just annoying everyone. And I just was so hyped about it. I just wanted to know everything I could know about him. And I don't think people actually realized that there was something fundamentally wrong that I needed help with, because I don't think this clearly was not a normal kid thing. I lost a lot of sleep reading about Adam Lambert articles in magazines or watching his American Idol performances online. I had Facebook when I was younger. Don't know why I was allowed Facebook when I was 11. But I would post like 10 statuses a day about Adam Lambert, and it was just like, it was too much. And this is something I've actually never talked about publicly really because it's embarrassing and I was ashamed of it. I believe that hyperfixations are a way for neurodivergent people to kind of distract themselves from the negative things in their life. And it gives them kind of a positive outlet to let out their emotions and creativity and just kind of feel instantly better through something that they're really passionate about. And this is beneficial because it's not super destructive, it's just odd. Currently, as a 23-year-old, I'm really fearful of when I get really invested in something or really interested in something, because I'm always like, at the back of my mind, is this going to become the next Adam Lambert? Is this going to become a hyperfixation? For a while I got obsessed with Jellycat stuffed animals. I had so many. I called myself a collector, but I would go online and like research all the ones I wanted, and I learned everything about them, and that was an expensive hyperfixation. So like I said, I never know if it's gonna be a long-lasting thing or something I got rice, or something I just focus on for a short period. I wanted to make this video because ever since I found out about Yetis and Friends, which is a brand that created this guy and my other one, I've been worried that I'm slowly creeping back into the realm of hyperfixation. You can see on my wall in my videos that I now have 2 of these guys, and I really like them. I literally can just look at them and feel so much joy and gratification, and it's just like, oh my gosh, I love them and I want to know everything about the brand. I literally have an album on my phone full of pictures of all these Yetis from Yetis and Friends, and I'm like, oh no, I don't want to slip back into hyperfixation. I follow the creator's Instagram page. I followed it for years. I creep their website all the time. I'm always looking up like, can I buy them secondhand? How can I get more? And it's like, ugh. I would say it's almost become like a special interest because I talk about my Yetis a lot. I just think they're so neat and well made, and they're literally handmade, you guys. Like, this is a small business and I'm supporting them, and oh, but I'm trying to reel myself back from getting to that point of hyperfixation because I got rice. Hi. I don't want to be there. I really don't. So I guess in a way, hyperfixation is being really obsessed with something that you know you shouldn't be, or like doing something you shouldn't be doing, or you inside you know, oh, I shouldn't be doing this, such as posting 10 statuses a day on Facebook about Adam Lambert, or staying up all night researching Yetis and Friends and losing sleep over it. And I think a special interest is more of a positive thing where you can be really passionate about something without it being something that takes over your whole life. It's kind of like a positive obsession with a passion behind it, if that makes sense. Looking back on it, I've kind of had a lot more hyperfixations than I've realized. I was obsessed with Les Mis, the musical. I had an Instagram account where I would make little posts about it. I was obsessed with Phantom of the Opera for a long time. Just things that were like, things that made me so happy, but I would go out of my way to learn about them and to talk about them constantly. And that's one more thing I wanted to address in this video, is I want to list a few key points that I think are really important when talking about hyperfixation and hyperfocus. So something to know is that hyperfixation involves when people go out of their way to learn about the topic, when people only talk about that topic for hours on end, or when people just spend too much time on the topic and things that relate to it. I think those are the things that kind of really set it apart from other just normal obsessions. So there you have it. That was my video on hyperfixations and special interests in neurodivergent people, and I really hope you learned something or resonated with it, because I feel like it's not something that's super talked about and super like, oh, I'm okay to talk about this, because it's kind of looked down upon when people are like really into something, I think. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. I would be so appreciative of that. It makes me so happy. And I would be so appreciative if you would click that subscribe button and hit the notification bell to stay tuned to all of my future content, because I post about Tourette Syndrome and neurodiversity and just stuff that affects my life, and hopefully that I can educate you guys on it and raise awareness about my disorder and just make the world a better place for people with Tourette Syndrome. Leave a comment down below saying hi, telling me what you want to see in future videos, or letting me know if you have any hyperfixations and how that's been for you. I like to learn about that. I really like to hear from you guys, and I really look forward to sharing more content with you. As always, we're learning together, we're laughing together, and we're ticking together. I got rice. Have a wonderful night. Bye guys.